Yes, welcome once again. So let's move on towards our discussion. That is lecture number 9, I believe. Okay, so let's see what are the things we have already learnt. So we had learnt that religion is subjective in nature, whereas science is objective in nature. Okay, religion depends from person to person, his perception towards God, whereas science is independent of perception. Okay, we have learnt all these things. Okay, so why is it that Europe was ahead of the rest of the world in terms of scientific discoveries and inventions? Okay, so why was Europe continent, the continent of Europe, why was it ahead of the others? Okay, why continent of Europe was, in fact, even today it is ahead. Okay, even today it is ahead of rest of the world. Why continent of Europe is ahead of rest of the world? When it comes to scientific discoveries and inventions. Okay, when it comes to scientific discoveries and inventions. Okay, the reason, the roots of this thing, the roots of continent of Europe being ahead of rest of the world date back to the period of Renaissance. Okay, so actually institutionalized. Okay, the reason is institutionalized, institutionalized, state sponsored development of science. Institutionalized state sponsored development of science first took place in Europe. Okay, institutionalized state sponsored means the state. Okay, although there was monarchy, not democracy in those days, there was no democracy in Europe in those days, it was monarchy. Still the monarchy also institutionalized development of science. Okay, so institutionalized state sponsored development of science first took place in Europe. Okay, whereas in India, it took place only after 1947. Okay, in India institutionalized state sponsored development of science took place only after 1947. Okay, although we are moving backwards with regards to the society which I am seeing after 2014, we are moving backwards because the state is instead sponsoring religion. Okay, from 2014 onwards, the Modi government, it is sponsoring religion instead of science. Okay, so we are moving backwards. But in general, if we say that Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR. Okay, so all these things are what? Institutionalized state sponsored development of science. Okay, so it first took place in Europe and then spread to other parts of the world, and in India it came only after 1947. Okay, so during the same time period, what was happening in India, Asia and Arabia. Okay, it's not it's not like, so see, during the same time period. Okay, during the same time period, India, Asia and Arabia, what was happening in India, Asia and Arabia. Okay, development of science took place here also. Okay, in the medieval age. Okay, development of science in ancient and medieval ages took place here too. Okay, so development of science in ancient and medieval ages took place in India, Asia and Arabia too, but the thing is, it was not institutionalized. Okay, but in these places it was not institutionalized. Okay, institutionalized means there was nothing state sponsored university or state sponsored colleges. Such things were not there in India, Asia and Arabia. Okay, in India, Asia and Arabia, actually religion was being sponsored in those days. Okay, religion was the education in those days, in the ancient and medieval ages. Even if some scientific discoveries happened at the individual level, even if some scientific discoveries take place at the individual level, those were neglected. Okay, because the state, that is the king, did not provide any support to such persons. Okay, so this is the thing. Okay, so it was not institutionalized. Individual places like Arabian scientists and individual cases are there in Arabia. Many Arabian scientists are there, and in India also Aryabhat and Shushruta are there. Okay, in India also there were scientists. Development of science in India in ancient ages and medieval ages. So you will find in the ancient India Aryabhat and Shushrut. Okay, but the thing is, those individual cases of scientists like Aryabhat and Shushrut, those were not institutionalized. Okay, so actually individual cases of scientists appear in all parts of the world, right? Individual cases of scientists appeared in all parts of the world, but institutionalized development of science, that took place in Europe only. So Europe was ahead of rest of the world during that period also, and during this time also. That's why Europe is ahead of rest of the world in terms of scientific discoveries and inventions. Okay, and same goes with USA and Russia also. Okay, because in Russia also state sponsored the science. Okay, state sponsored universities and colleges during the monarchical period too. So in Russia, USA and Europe, the reality is that their science was institutionalized from the beginning itself. Okay, so that's why they were ahead of rest of the world, and this is the reason why Cold War took place between USA and Russia. Why Cold War took place between USA and Russia? Because both wanted to establish supremacy over the world. Okay, they wanted to show off their talent. Okay, for example, there is some element that is to be discovered. You must be knowing, if you are a chemistry student, you must be knowing that there is periodic table of elements. Okay, so during the Cold War era, actually there was quite a huge controversies over the uh, discovery of new elements, heavier elements. Okay, after atomic number 100 and 104, etc. Okay, so after atomic number 104, Z equal to 104. After that, many radioactive elements were later on discovered. So majority of them were discovered during the Cold War era till 1991. Why? Because USA and Russia were at loggerheads. They wanted to show off that our country has discovered the maximum number of elements. Okay. Similarly, it goes with space too. Okay. Russia and USA were competing for going to step on moon. Okay. So Russia and USA were at loggerheads, so that they wanted to. USA said that we will first step on moon. Yeah, Russia used to say that we will first step on moon. Okay, so all these things happened. Although after 1991, the Confederation States of USSR, okay, USSR was a confederation of states, so it got broken. Okay, Russia got broken into various small countries, many 15-20 small countries, and after that, when USSR was reduced to Russia, Cold War came to an end. So after Cold War came to an end, there was only USA left, which was powerful. Okay, so then development of science then in Russia also stopped after that. After 1991, means in Russia produced produced scientific technological instruments and all those things, but actually it lagged behind Europe and USA after that, after 1991. Okay, so the strength of Russia went away after Cold War. Now the industrial revolution is actually directly proportional to scientific developments. You must know this thing, that why industrial revolution took place in Europe only. Okay, why industrial revolution took place in Europe? Because science was being institutionalized, right? Why industrial revolution? Why industrial revolution took place in Europe only? Okay, so the thing is, industrial revolution is directly proportional. Okay, industrial is directly proportional to scientific developments, and scientific developments took place in Europe only. Scientific developments. How industrial revolution is promoted by scientific developments? It is a common sense. Okay, because if machines are not discovered, industrial revolution is not possible. Industrial revolution is not possible because without the invention of machines. Okay, industrial revolution will not be possible without the invention of machines, and invention of machines required scientific developments. Okay, so invention of machines were possible only because of scientific development. So scientific developments led to development of machines, and development of machines led to industrial revolution. So that's why scientific developments were responsible for industrial revolution. So first industrial revolution took place where? Industrial revolution, the very first industrial revolution took place in England actually. You must be knowing this. Okay, you should write this down in your notebook. Okay, I am not writing over here, but you should write in your notebooks that first industrial revolution in Europe also. Where did the very first industrial revolution take place? Where did very first industrial revolution take place in Europe? Okay, the name of country. So very first industrial revolution took place in England actually. Okay, now who were the first to come to India? They were not Britishers. Okay, those who live in England were called as Britishers. So the first to come to India were actually Portuguese. Okay, so let us write over here. Portuguese were the first to come to India. Portuguese were first to come to India. Okay. Now Portugal. Portuguese belong to the country Portugal. So Portugal and Spain, what were they? In the 15th and 16th centuries, what does it mean? During the period from 1400 to 1599. This is the meaning of 15th and 16th centuries. So during this particular period, they were globally very influential. Okay, globally influential. Okay. Now, what is this Treaty of Tordesillas? Okay, this is a very important point. This is also given in your spectrum. Treaty of Tordesillas. Okay, Spain and Portugal. Okay, S and P means Spain and Portugal divided all the new territories. Okay, all the new colonies, all the new geographical discoveries took place, right? So Spain and Portugal were at the forefront. Okay, Spain and Portugal were at the forefront of geographical discoveries. So Spain and Portugal actually divided all the new territories which they discovered. Which they with the help of, what did they do? They actually signed a treaty. So Treaty of Tordesillas. Treaty of Tordesillas 1494. Now the exact year 1494 is not important, but you must know this very well, that somewhere in the 1490s, somewhere in that period, that is end of the 15th century, during that period Treaty of Tordesillas was signed. This much you should know. Okay, so that you can arrange them in chronology whenever some timeline based question is asked to you in the prelims. Okay, now such questions are not asked in mains. Okay, in mains conceptual questions are asked, and the question bank of mains is limited. Okay, whereas in prelims anything can be asked from everywhere, because they ask very bouncer questions too, because it is OMR sheet based, right? That's why. So Treaty of Tordesillas was signed by Spain and Portugal in 1494, and they divided all new territories which were to be discovered. Okay, so in this way. Now what is this Treaty of Tordesillas? This Treaty of Tordesillas simply says, now there is a continent of South America. Okay, now I don't know how to draw the South American continent, but it looks something of this kind, right? If I am not wrong. Okay, it looks something like this roughly. Okay, so this is the continent of South America. Now over here there is a one giant country. Okay, very big country, even bigger than India, which is Brazil. Okay, fifth biggest country in the world. So from this Brazil there was a line. Okay, that somewhere here, suppose. So this Treaty of Tordesillas says that eastern part from this particular line will be occupied by Portugal. Okay, All the territories belonging to east will be of Portugal. Okay, and to the west of this, all the territories will be of Spain. This is what is Treaty of Tordesillas. Okay, so Treaty of Tordesillas passed through, actually this line of Treaty of Tordesillas passed through the eastern part of Brazil. Okay, now let us understand some conceptual facts. Initially in North and South America, Spain was very active. Okay, so initially in North and South America, let us write over here. Initially in North America, and South America, Spain was very active. Okay, so this is the reason why in South America, so they actually destroyed the indigenous culture over there. The indigenous tribes that were living over there, they destroyed them actually. Okay, and they imposed their own culture in these countries. Okay, so in South America, except Brazil, where Portuguese is spoken. Okay, in Brazil, Portuguese is spoken. So in South America, except Brazil, everywhere Spanish is spoken. In Brazil, Portuguese is spoken, and everywhere else Spanish is spoken in South America continent. Now you must be knowing the countries of South America continent. Okay, Peru, Colombia, Venezuela. Okay, then Chile, Bolivia. Okay, Argentina. Right? All these countries belong to South America. So except Brazil, where Portuguese is spoken, everywhere else is Spanish is spoken. Now it was only because of scientific thinking. Okay, most of the religion say that earth is flat. If you read the original texts of original religious texts, every religion, okay, let it be Christianity, let it be Hinduism, let it be Islam, every religion says that earth is in fact flat. Okay, but it was only after scientific discoveries it was proved that the earth is instead spherical, not flat. Okay, although Nupur Sharma says that, only Islam thinks so. Okay, that's what was the Nupur Sharma controversy. But she has never read any religious text. That's why she is giving such hate speeches. Okay, so the thing is, every religion used to think that earth is flat. Okay, no religion thought that earth is spherical. It was only after scientific discoveries it was proven that the earth is instead spherical, not flat. Okay, so because of scientific thinking it was proved that earth is spherical and not flat. That's why long sea voyages were not there before 15th century. So let us see over here. Okay, why long sea voyages? Okay, long sea voyages means लंबी समुद्री यात्रा. ठीक है, so why long sea voyages were not there? before 15th century. Fifteenth century means before the period 1400 to 1499. Before this period, why long sea voyages were not there? Okay, because people used to think that this is because people used to think think, okay, that earth is flat. So they used to think that earth is flat. So suppose they used to think that earth is like this, okay. So if there is this landmass over here on this earth, okay, what they used to think, let me draw a proper diagram, okay. They used to think that in fact this is suppose your earth, okay. They used to think earth is flat, so this is your earth. Then on this earth there is land mass, okay. This is suppose your land mass, and this is suppose your water, okay. So people used to think that water is falling like this, okay. Earth is like this, the water is falling like this, and if we go far away, suppose we are on a boat, okay, and this boat goes on a long sea voyage, okay. We are on a ship and it goes on a long sea voyage. Then what will happen? The ship will eventually fall down, okay. Ship will eventually fall down because the earth is flat. That's what people used to think in those days, okay. But later on, because of scientific discoveries, it was proved that earth is instead spherical. So that's how new geographical discoveries took place after it was found that earth is spherical, okay. Now we will learn something about Portuguese. Actually my parrot is shouting a lot, okay, so just ignore that, okay. So Vasco da Gama, so he reached Calicut. Portuguese were the first to come to India, so Vasco da Gama reached Calicut in 1498, okay. Now this Calicut is present day Kozhikode, okay. Calicut is present day Kozhikode, which is in Kerala, okay, present day. Now who were the traditional rulers over here? Traditional in Calicut. Who were they? They were Samutri. Samutri, you call it in Hindi, you call it Samutri, and Europeans called it Zamorin, okay, because Europeans could not pronounce Samutri. Europeans found it difficult to pronounce Samutri, so that's why they used to call it Zamorin. So they were the traditional rulers in Calicut at that time in 1498 period, okay. Now the Portuguese East India Company. We will learn about the Portuguese East India Company. Portuguese East India Company. Okay. So this is quite obvious that the first statement is quite obvious that among the various major European powers, among the major European powers, Portuguese were the first to come to India. Okay. Now this also you should remember in 1500. Okay. In 1500, Portuguese established in 1500 Portuguese established their first trade factory in Calicut in Kerala. Okay, so it was established first trading factory in Calicut in Kerala. So in 1500 it was established, and the Portuguese governor during this time was, who was the Portuguese governor during this period? Pedro Alvares Cabral. Okay, Pedro Alvares Cabral was the Portuguese governor during this time. Then these facts you should remember actually. Okay, no other option. Okay, in 1503 what happened? In 1503, Kochi, during those days it was called as Cochin, okay, became their most important center in India. So initially Calicut was trade factory was established at Calicut in 1500. That was first trade factory. Okay, and these factories were not like today's factories. Okay, we whenever the thing factory comes to our mind, these factories were not the factories which we see today. The factories which we see today manufacture something, but actually in those days these European companies factories were not actually factories. Factory term is a misnomer actually. Okay, factory, it was not a factory, it was kind of warehouse where goods were kept. Okay, whatever was whatever was brought from foreign, and whatever was exported from India, and whatever was imported to India, all those things were kept in those warehouses. Okay, all those things were kept in those warehouses. So these warehouses were called as factories. So actually there was nothing manufactured in those factories, those were just warehouses. Okay, so in 1503 Cochin became their most important center in India. Okay, became their most important center. in India. Okay. Francisco de Almeida. Okay. Now, Francisco de Almeida. Remember this name. Francisco de Almeida. He is known for blue water policy. So he was the first Portuguese governor in India. First Portuguese governor in India. Okay. He constructed got constructed Fort Saint Angelo. Fort Saint Angelo in Kannur in 1505. This is also in Kerala. Okay. But the real founder is who? Who is the real founder of Portuguese Empire in India? Okay. Real founder. Real founder of Portuguese Empire in India. It is no one but Alfonso de Albuquerque. Real founder of Portuguese Empire in India, Alfonso de Albuquerque. What did he do? Managed to conquer Goa from Bijapur Sultanate. Okay, Sultanate. So he managed to conquer Goa from Bijapur Sultanate in 1510. Okay. In 1530 what happened? In 1530 Goa became the main center of Portuguese. In 1530 Goa. Okay. So this who was the Nuno de Cunha was the Portuguese governor during this time. Nuno de Cunha. Okay. So 1529 to 1538. Okay. So in 1530 Goa, that is Nuno da Cunha, became there during the Portuguese governor. Who was the Portuguese governor when Goa became major center? So Nuno de Cunha was the Portuguese governor during this period, and he remained governor from 1529 to 1538. So in 1530, Goa, Nunadali Kunna, became their main center in India. Okay. Became Portuguese. Main center in India. Before Goa, what was the main center? What was the main center of Portuguese before Goa? Okay. So before Goa, the main center of Portuguese. The main center of Portuguese was Kochi or Cochin. Okay. So before Goa, the main center was Kochi or Cochin. Now never confuse this Kochi with the Kochi Kame cartoon which used to be telecasted on uh, हंगामा टीवी. ओके, कोची का में वहाँ देखता है क्या रुसवा गया. ओके, so this is not that Kochi. There is one more Kochi in Japan actually. Okay, there is one more city called as Kochi which lies in Japan. So Kochi Kame means the story of Kochi. Okay, so that Kochi is from Japan, this Kochi is from Kerala. So never confuse between those. Kochi Kame serial, the cartoon rather, which used to be there on Hangama TV, and after that it came on Disney XD, I think. So that was very different. That is based on Japan's Kochi. Okay, so before Goa, the main center was Kochi or Cochin. Now 16th century, what happened in 16th century? Let us see. 16th century. 16th century means 1500 to 1599. Many people were very angry with this year's UPSC CSAT. Okay, many people were saying that the CSAT was not CSAT, it was instead CAT. Okay, it was CAT instead of CSAT. Many people said that, but and many UPSC educators also said that. Now the thing is, if you practice the previous years, even if the question paper was based on previous years, okay, still that person, if someone has done the previous years according to previous years pattern, someone has prepared CSAT suppose in UPSC, he could have easily scored 1/3 marks, that is 66. Okay, because the cutoff is fixed. Okay, so he or she could have easily scored 66 marks, those who have perfect practice of CSAT. Okay, so abusing UPSC is of no use. UPSC wants all rounders. Okay, UPSC does not want that someone belongs to the art, someone belongs to the arts background, so he does not know the basic mathematical skills. Okay, UPSC does not want that. She does not want such bureaucrats. Okay, so remember this thing. Okay, so 16th century, what happened? 1500 to 1599. So there is no point abusing UPSC for making the CSAT paper equivalent to CAT. Okay, there is no point in that. So 16th century, that is 1500 to 1599. What happened? Indian Ocean region was dominated by Portuguese. Okay, Indian Ocean was dominated by Portuguese. Okay, so Indian Ocean region during this period was dominated by Portuguese. For before Portuguese, it was dominated by whom? Okay, these 100 years it was dominated by Portuguese, but before Portuguese it was dominated by, this also you should remember. Okay, before Portuguese it was dominated by Arabs and Turks. Okay, it was dominated by Arabs and Turks. So during this period from 1500 to 1599, Indian Ocean region was completely dominated by Portuguese, and before Portuguese it was dominated by Arabs and Turks. Okay, so dominance of Arabs and Turks. Dominance of Arabs and Turks was ended by Portuguese. Okay, dominance of Arabs and Turks was ended by Portuguese. Now Portugal is a very small country. If you have ever seen the political map of Europe, okay, if you see the political map of Europe, then you will realize that even today, during those days also and even today, Portugal is a very small country. Okay, so let us see over here. Portugal is a very small country. Okay, Portugal is a, and less population also, is a very small country. Arab countries were huge in number. Okay, Arab countries, because of Islamic conquest, Arab countries were huge in number. Turks were from Ottoman Empire. Okay, remember this. Turks were from Ottoman Then the question arises, why such a small country like Portugal, okay, with a small population, dominated Arabs and Turks? Such a small country with a small population. I am talking about Portugal. Okay, Portugal. Okay, so dominated Arabs and Turks. And this was despite, okay, and one question is this, and another question is that, okay, one question is this, question number 1, logical question, and question number 2 is that many Indian Many Indian middlemen merchants also supported Arabs and Turks. So they had local support also. Okay. Then how Portuguese managed to dominate? It was because of, so the answer to these both these questions, okay, this question number 1, answer to this particular question, okay, and answer to this particular question lies over here, okay, because of scientific development. I told to you already that institutionalized scientific development took place in Europe, and Portugal is a part of Europe. So institutionalized science and tech was there in Portugal also. So better shipbuilding, they were expert in shipbuilding, okay. So because of scientific development, they were good in shipbuilding. Because of scientific development, they were good in shipbuilding. That's why they were able to dominate Indian Ocean region. Okay. Now what is this exactly advancement? Okay. So they had better ships. They had actually better ships. Okay. Better navigation techniques, compass, use of compass, etc. You know na, that direction, compass needle shows the direction, north south direction, right, based on magnetic technology, right. So all these things Portuguese had. So better navigation techniques, strong navy, right, they had a strong navy. What does it mean by navy? Navy means sea force, okay. Army, navy, air force, you must have heard these things. Army works on land, navy works on sea, air force works on air, okay. So they had strong navy. Then they had, Portuguese had disciplined forces, okay, they had a lot of discipline. Disciplined forces, okay. Advanced artillery, they also have advanced artillery, advanced artillery. And advanced artillery means advanced cannons, etc. Okay. What does it mean by cannon? Cannon means top, okay. What does it mean by cannon? Cannon means top, okay. So disciplined forces, advanced artillery, cannons, okay. They had small but effective cannons, okay, small sized, they had small sized, but effective cannons. Okay. Indian and Arabian. Indian, Arabian. Indian forces, Arabian forces and Turkish. Okay. They had big sized cannon. Big sized, ineffective. Due to lack of scientific progress. Okay. So Arabian, Turkish and Indian forces had big sized ineffective cannons. Okay. So Portuguese in 16th century. Portuguese in 16th century. Okay. Portuguese in 16th century, that is the period between 1500 to 1599. During this particular period, Portuguese, what did they do? Okay, ended the era of free navigation. Free navigation in Indian Ocean. So Portuguese in 16th century, that is the period between 1500 to 1599, ended the era of free navigation in Indian Ocean. Okay. Portuguese, what did they do? Portuguese used to issue a naval license called cartas. So whosoever had these cartas, he was allowed to navigate, and others who did not have these cartas, they were stopped, their ships were looted. Okay. So Portuguese used to issue a naval license called cartas. Okay. Now what is this cartas? Cartas is protection money. Okay. We will not harm you if you give us money. Okay. If you pay us some amount, we will not harm your ships. So that is what is called as cartas. That is a kind of license. Okay. Protection money at sea. Okay. Now what was the idea behind these cartas? Okay, what was the idea? Let me see, friends, just a minute. Okay. How much we are left with? Let me see. Okay. Let me see, just a second. Okay. Yes. So what was the idea behind these cartas? Let us understand now. Okay. So idea behind cartas we will do after some time. Okay. The idea behind cartas we will do after some time. So from idea behind cartas onwards we will do in the next class. Idea behind cartas. So till then, next class means I will merge the video basically. Okay, I will merge the video in this only. So thank you very much.